Okay, I haven't recorded anything for a while, and so here's an update. I bought tires. So the old tires that were on it were really old. Not sure how much of a variable they were, but they were teasing me enough that it's time. I wasn't going to run them on this year anyway, so I guess it was time. So I got two 25/50 14s on the back, and then instead of doing the same size all the way around, I went smaller in the front. The next best size that I could go smaller in was actually, to get a similar height, was 185/60 14. That's a little skinnier than I'd like to have gone, I think, but I think that's probably a fine setup. And would have liked to have maybe gone to a little different wheel, but there's not too many choices in the same brand, and so you can see they look a little different front to back. But maybe that looks kind of cool too. That's more like probably what it should be for what I'm trying to replicate a little bit. Anyway, that's change. I got the wheel straightened out that I put into a curb. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think it was this one because it's so clean. Yeah, right there. There's a little bit of a ding left in it. Let's paint it up a little bit. And what I did want to talk about though is Ackerman. So if you look at the way I had this originally set up, if you could draw a straight line between the lower ball joints, between the lower control arms, is that the rack, the way I had it originally set up, was also parallel, so the tie rod arms were also just straight across or parallel. And I'll show you how I trying to measure it before, so you get an idea of if I could measure Ackerman or not. But I didn't have any Ackerman. It was negative Ackerman or anti-Ackerman, I guess. And so I started pulling the rack forward based on the Drifters guy's comments, to get it. So I've gone pretty extreme on the pull forward, I think, until I could start measuring some Ackerman, and I think I lost it again. So I think I'm too far forward. So I'm not going to do it now because I'm supposed to change one thing at a time, but when I'm at a full lock turn, is that I think that to get the most Ackerman or toe out condition is when I'm fully turned, is that those rods will be almost straight. And you can see that that one's still canted back. That means I don't have as much toe out on that outside tire as I'd like to have, or it's diving in too quick, or I've got anti-Ackerman, or not as much Ackerman, I guess, as I'd like to have. So I think what I'm going to do is, after I drive this, I'm going to just change the tires, drive it, and kind of get a feel for what these new tires feel like. And then I'm going to pull that steering rack in a full lock turn to be straight across. And that should give me my most Ackerman that I've got capable of my system here. Something I've noticed with these Miata spindles, if you look at the offset between the ball joint and the tie rod, is they're not very far offset, like what, maybe a ½ inch at best. I'm expecting that to be kicked in further to give you more Ackerman, and I'm surprised that they can get what they want with this design, and after I've been struggling to get Ackerman into this design. So anyway, one thing at a time. We'll go take it for a drive in this form and see how it feels with the tires. I'm changing two variables: the tires themselves being new, and then number two is the smaller front tires compared to what I used to have. And so we'll see if those behave any differently before I play with the Ackerman, I think. Those tires look backwards to you? The shop said, well, it says on the outside, it says to go to the outside. And so that's the way they did it, outside. But the tread looks backwards to me, so I'm curious. It'd be funny if it also said outside on the inside. No, it says inside, so I guess this is the way it's supposed to be. So Toyo, I'm going to trust what you're telling me. Alright, over and out. Okay, recapping a couple of things that I want to experiment with today. So I drove it last week, and the new tires are good. They're definitely take a little bit of heat to get them going, and then they felt really good though. So next thing is Ackerman. When doing tight corners, it still felt like it was pushing. So what I learned from looking at the Miata was that their rack is further forward than making the tie rod ends parallel, I guess when I say forward. So you can see that I've got a cant, you know, as the rack is further forward, and that's to increase Ackerman supposedly. And I've gone too far, I think. So what I really think I need to do, and what I'm going to target today, is that when I'm turned, to get the maximum amount of toe out, then I want those to be, at least that one. You can see that I'm not going to get both, but probably that one to get as much toe out as I can in this condition. I think that needs to be about straight. So I'm going to pull it back until I get closer to straight, at least on the outside wheel. That's about as good as toe out in this turning situation that I think we're going to be able to achieve, and then we'll drive it again. So I don't know the best way to try and get an idea of what the Ackerman's showing up. This is the best way I could think of, so I've been using it so far. Is just looking, you know, I'm trying to make the levels parallel with the tires. You know, it's obviously just sighting things in, but it'll do from the front to back to see if there's any difference in the 3-foot level. So, you know, I've got 4 foot, you know, maybe 5/8 inch, 4'1", you know, pretty much. So this means that, you know, based on this measurement, I've actually got anti-Ackerman. I'm not towing out, I'm actually towing in. And so I think what I measured before, so I'm going to go back, but when I put the last about 1 inch in, I was going extreme. That's when the anti-Ackerman showed up. Again, I started with anti, and then I got some Ackerman, I think, and then I got back to anti-Ackerman by continuing to pull the rack forward. So we're going to go pull it back now and see if I can get some Ackerman back. Okay, so after changing the rack position, then that of course resets the toe. So the way I'm doing my toe is just putting blocks of wood up. Poor man's way of doing it. Set up some consistency from left to right. So I had 47 1/4 with scrubbing 5 front to back, so I'm close as I can tell to 0 toe. I'll tighten things up and then we'll see how our Ackerman does. Okay, once again, try and put the levels down, try and square everything up as best we can. It's all just visual, of course. We're at about 49 on the front. $48.5. So we actually have some toe out, we think. So that means I've got a little bit of Ackerman. It doesn't seem like very much. That might be about all I get, so I guess we'll go test drive it and see how it does in some turns. It just pushes in the front, so I just can't help but think we need some Ackerman. Negative Ackerman is no good, I don't think, for at least what I'm learning so far. And I can't imagine how negative Ackerman would ever be good. It just blows my mind, but hey, I'm new at this. calling that success so far. That felt better than it ever has. It's turning pretty nice. We'll see how it goes. It does when you're going really fast, I guess, because it's starting to break the tires loose. But I think it's pretty good G loads in there, kind of making me sick.